Right now from Republican Senator Rob Portman, what he makes of this. You know, Senator, I know when you and I were first talking, this was before the war started, you know, the odds against Ukraine were staggering. You didn't think as staggering as was the consensus view. But who would have thought 7 months into this, Senator, we're now at the point of Russian soldiers on the run, which then brings up another worry. Vladimir Putin, you know, could up the ante here and get even more violent, more gruesome. What do you think?
Well, Neil, first, you're absolutely right. I was in Kyiv, as you know, 2 weeks ago with Senator Klobuchar, a bipartisan delegation, and we met with President Zelensky and his military folks, and we actually toured some of these sites around Kyiv that have been destroyed. This is great news. While we were there, the counteroffensive started in the south. Now it's moved to the northeast, and it's been incredibly successful. And the exciting thing for me is that what the American taxpayers were willing to provide Ukraine, which is the kind of equipment they've been asking for a long time, finally the Biden administration provided it, is making the difference, particularly these so-called HIMARS, which are these weapon systems that can shoot artillery a longer distance and very accurately. That has changed the battlefield dynamics significantly, because before that, remember when we talked, the Russians were firing on the Ukrainian positions with impunity because the Ukrainians couldn't reach them. That has all changed now, and that's because, frankly, of the United States of America and our willingness to support them with the equipment that they'd been asking for. The UK and Germany has also provided some of that. But, Neil, I'm really pleased to see that, one, they're winning and liberating lands that the Russians unlawfully took and have brutally attacked the citizens of those areas, like around Kharkiv. But second, that what we did as a Congress and as a country and what the American people have done is making a difference.
Do you worry, though, you talked about our aid, and you did mention some other NATO allies, but the fact of the matter is I believe we account for close to 90% of that aid, that it's a little lopsided.
Yeah, there are 49 other countries now that have provided military assistance to Ukraine, and again, some of them have provided some very important equipment, like the UK, I mentioned, in Germany, providing these long-range missiles. But we've done more than others, and we've been in a leadership position. I don't think it's nearly 90% when you add up everything, because others have provided, you know, various other kinds of equipment, including ammunition, particularly some of the Soviet-era stuff that we frankly don't have, but that the countries in Eastern Europe have in terms of ammunition, and even some of the anti-aircraft systems, as an example. But we are taking the lead. But to me, that is America's role. You know, we have traditionally been taking the lead to liberate people, going back to our history, storied history, World War I, World War II. And we had frankly kind of gotten away from that. We had put a lot of U.S. troops in harm's way in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. Here, that's not what we're doing. And they're not asking for our troops on the ground, nor are we providing them. But we are providing leadership and rallying the rest of the free world behind this cause. And that's what Ukraine feels. That's one reason that they think they have the momentum right now.
Well, and, they very well might. But to that point, Senator, we're learning right now that Vladimir Putin is responding in sort of the waves that we thought he would, launching 8 cruise missiles against the southern Ukrainian city of Kyiv. And I'm just wondering, since that was targeting water supplies in that area, not to mention their attacks in and around at least 2 nuclear facilities, that this could get scary now, that Vladimir Putin's been likened to a wounded animal trapped in a corner, and a responding kind.
I would just say 2 things, Neil. One, it's already scary because around Zaporizhia, which is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, as you know, they have effectively put a military base, and they're using it as a shield. And they're actually imploding infrastructure right next to the plant to take electricity into Ukraine, because they're trying to steal electricity and take it into Crimea and into Russia. So, I mean, it was already incredibly reckless and risking a catastrophe. But you're right, he's pushing back by firing more missiles, which he's been doing. One thing that I think is really important is that we help the Ukrainian economy get back on its feet. And to do that, we've got to help provide them better anti-aircraft and anti-missile technology, because that will bring people back to Ukraine. Remember, there's 6 or 7 million people who are out of the country, 6 or 7 million internally displaced. So until we can get people back and get the economy on a more sound footing, it's tough for their economy and their budget. So that's part of why I think we need to continue what we're doing on the military side and provide even more air cover, so that Ukraine can pull itself up by its own bootstraps, which it wants to do, and get its economy moving again.
Senator, while I have you here, I'd be remiss if I didn't pass along this news alert we got that Don Bolduc, the retired Army general, famous 2020 election denier, Donald Trump was backing him, has indeed captured the Republican nomination for Senate in New Hampshire. He beat out Chuck Norris, the state Senate president, who was backed by the governor, Sununu. I'm just wondering, the quality of the candidates running, it was a real concern of Mitch McConnell. I don't know whether you feel the same way. Democrats are celebrating this, maybe prematurely. Your thoughts?
Well, maybe prematurely. You don't know. The polling data in New Hampshire is interesting because there are a lot of people who feel strongly the country is going in the wrong direction. President Biden's approval rating is low, so anything can happen. But I was supporting Chuck Norris. I know him personally. I think he would have been a great senator, and I think he would have been a good candidate. But I don't know General Bolduc at all, so I can't speak to him. But I do think candidates matter. But I also think, Neil, the overall environment out there still remains one that's difficult for Democrats, despite their celebration yesterday of having, helped on inflation, the 8.3% figure and 13.2% since the start of the year. The fact that people who had a dollar in their pocket when President Biden was sworn in, that dollar is now worth 88 cents. That we have the highest inflation in nearly 40 years. I mean, this is a huge issue, and it's affecting everything. So I do think the environment is going to be still pretty good for Republicans.
We shall see. Senator Portman, always good seeing you, my friend. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me on.